Nothing like a bit of green sleeves, is there? You know what I mean? We decided to do this at the start of our presentation, you know what I mean? I know it might sound a bit naff, but it actually grows me.
Well, it reminds me being in the telephone queue, because you quite often hear green sleeves, don't you? So it takes me back to when I worked in a call centre.
It's like that old English music, innit? You know what I mean? You kind of hear it and you think, well, I remember that from somewhere, but probably back at bloody school, innit? You know what I mean? It's like, but something about it.
We thought we had a bit of class, didn't we? Too?
Yeah. But anyway, probably enough of that. Right, and let's make a start. So, what I'd like to do firstly is welcome everyone to Stephen's Canal World that we call in these presentations. And my name, for those who don't know me, is Stephen Parker. And my lovely colleague here is called?
Anne Lomax.
Yeah, and you're not blushing because I said that, yeah? Lovely colleague. Right?
I feel a bit hot actually under the collar.
Gosh. You might have noticed, I know last time we were on, what we tended to do was like Facebook Lives, you know what I mean? Which are great, you know what I mean? Because you're getting to speak to you know, the people who's coming on and all that lot. But what we found out, the one issue with it is that it only lasted for 6 months. So, which is not good, because, you know, you do these, you want it to last a bit longer than the 6 months on Facebook. So, anyway, what we thought we'd do is, we've actually recorded this session, yeah? Hopefully it'll go well. And then the plan is then we're going to upload it to YouTube, so it's always there for posterity. And then we're going to kind of plug it in our groups, aren't we? Heritage groups, canal groups, railway groups. So hopefully people will know pretty much when it's coming up, don't they?
Yes, and it'll
like
always
the
be
dates and times and stuff. And
it'll always be on hand, which will be good if you ever want to go back, because Stephen's really knowledgeable about the canals, and it's nice to know the information that he gives me. I'm learning a lot, to be fair. I hardly knew anything, but I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, she's not yawning as much as she used to, you know what I mean? He's mentioned the word canal, and I wonder why she fell asleep. You know what I mean? It was like, I must have a cup of tea. Right. So, Anne, what have we been up to recently?
Well, last Thursday, the 26th of October, we went over to Dewsbury Town Hall. It's not far from here, and it's the first time I'd actually been in the Town Hall. Really beautiful building.
Lovely building, isn't it? Really, first time I've been as well, and it really is a splendid building. If you ever get a chance to go in, you must, because it really is such a lovely building.
But Stephen took me to my first canal talk.
Yes.
We know how to live it up.
We do, we know each other a good night out, don't we? You know what I mean?
But it was really, really interesting.
Yeah. And again, what we did, we actually went to a presentation by Keith Noble of the Calder Navigation Society. And he was talking about the Calder and Ebble navigation. And Keith is a really good speaker, isn't he?
He
made
really
it right interesting, like, and what people don't realise, I first met Keith, it would have been in the 1980s. An absolutely splendid gentleman, you know, he's salt of earth. And I remember I bought a copy, he'd done a book at the time, it was called West Yorkshire Waterways Guide. And I've happened to got a copy here, and it really is, I think it's out of print now, but I know you can still get copies on eBay. And if you've not got a copy, you must, because it, you know, certainly if you're interested in the Calder and Ebble navigation, you know, it's invaluable. If you want to walk it, brilliant. So I can fully recommend that. You know, so if you've not got it, obviously it's up to yourself, but I love it, and that's my treasured copy, and I'll always have that.
So I was really surprised how much the Calder and Ebble navigation had changed over the years, because this is what Keith pointed out to us. The other thing is, Peter Davis was there, the chairman of the South Pennine Boat Club. And they've got a boat at the South Pennine Boat Club that they hire out, haven't they?
They have, and we previously hired that out, and we took a few people on that way.
Yeah, it was a beautiful day. It was in May, gorgeous, glorious, sunny day, and we went from Battyford, which is just outside Mirfield, didn't we? Right down to Brighouse, and lovely, and had fish and chips for lunch, which was even
that
better.
was an absolute bonus, you know what I mean? A nice ride up like river and canal, and then get something to eat and then come all the way back. So it really was, that was a good do, that went.
And Peter was actually saying that they're taking bookings for next year as well, wasn't he?
It's something we'll probably think about doing again, won't we? Maybe organise an event and take people, friends, family, everyone up Calder and Ebble navigation, which would be brilliant, won't it?
It will, yes.
Yeah. So, you probably realised from the last live, sadly, due to adverse weather conditions, it's been blowing a bloody storm, hasn't it?
Yeah.
We had to cancel our guided walk, which would have been on the Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal, and it would have also gone up Fletcher's Canal. And it's not something I ever wanted to do, unfortunately. Well, if you're taking 27 people along footpaths, which become a quad mile, probably not the most sensible thing to do, is it? So sadly, we had to cancel it. But when people kind of like join our walks, they usually donate £5, don't they?
Yeah, this walk was actually in conjunction with Little Britain Anglers, okay? So we'd organised the walk together. I do the admin, and Tracy Owen, who is the wife of Eric Owen, who was the chairman of Little Britain Anglers, was doing the admin her side for it. So when we had to cancel, which we really didn't want to do and felt quite sad about it.
Absolutely gutted, you know what I mean? Because we'd done that recce, haven't we? And
we did. We went out and walked the route and everything for it, and it was a lovely day. And there's so much interesting stuff.
There is. It's surprising, really. You know, because obviously with that walk, there's a lot of infill sections, but if you know where to look, there's a lot to see. You know what I mean? And obviously, I've known that canal since 1984. So I can kind of bring it alive using my historical photographs and my personal recollections, which makes it special, don't it? And people seem to like it, you know what I mean? Because if you didn't realise, you probably wouldn't realise the section at Ringley is a canal anymore, would you? Where it's been filled in outside at sewage works. It's just a bit of a path. Yeah. But when you look closely, you can see all stone edgings at canal, and where water used to be, it's kind of like overgrown scrubland and that, and it's such a shame. So anyway, what we're trying to get to here, because I end up bloody rambling, don't I? You know what I mean?
I wrote out to everybody who actually asked to come on the walk and donated £5 towards Little Britain Anglers. Yeah. To say they could have the money back because we had to cancel the walk. I would say the majority of them said no, we still want the money to go towards the K&A boat appeal. We did refund who wanted the money, but we have been able to send a donation this morning through to Little Britain Anglers, haven't we? Yeah,
of £100. So we'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who basically said, well, donate the £5 to Little Britain Anglers for the K&A boat appeal. So we've transferred £100 to Little Britain Anglers this morning?
Yes, this morning, and they've confirmed they've received it, and it is going towards the K&A boat appeal,
which is a worthy appeal. And if you can, and I realise times are hard, but dig deep and donate what you can afford.
Because I believe the appeal's running until middle of November, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it got extended a little bit. But it'd be nice, wouldn't it, to get boat movements back on that section of canal. You know, it really would be icing on cake. So that's kind of a flavour, and we will be doing a post, like a thank you post in our canal groups, because it really was a generous thing to do.
It was, totally.
You know, because we weren't expecting that we were going to give everyone the £5 back, but a lot of people said no, we want it to go to Little Britain Anglers, which we've now done.
Yes.
So that's brilliant. But what I'd like to say now, it's kind of like changing it a bit, isn't it? It would have been back in August, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Bank Holiday Monday, so it was a bit quiet in Salford, which was good for us really, because it gets rather busy there, doesn't it?
Yeah, because what we decided today, I'd not been down there for a rather long time, so we decided, we jumped in car and we drove to Salford, because we wanted to look at the Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal between the River Irwell up to Oldfield Road, and not only like look at it, say it's changed, you know, like what it's like now, opportunity for photographs and stuff, isn't there? Yeah. And we did pick up on a few bits, don't we? I don't know your impressions of what you thought and when you got there. Well, to be fair,
I mean, I've been to Manchester a few times, but I haven't actually been to Salford, which is just over the water from Manchester. I was a bit taken aback. It probably wasn't the best place where I'd want to go to, unfortunately.
It's a real shame, because that section of canal between the River Irwell and just below Oldfield Road, it was reopened in 2008, and it cost a considerable amount of money to do that. And I must admit, even though I'd not been down there for a while, I were a little surprised at what I found, you know what I mean? Because you've got to park your car like streets away, wasn't it? You know what I mean? Which is fine, you expect that, you know what I mean? But what we did, we parked the car up kind of like just at the back at Crescent in a proper car. We even paid and displayed, didn't we?
Crescent,
You know what I mean?
yeah, it's nice
that area's
round there.
nice, that. But what we did, we kind of parked car up and then we walked down, didn't we? So finally we got to, well, I suppose it's where this canal, the Manchester Bolton and Bury, you know, like join the River Irwell. You know, so we got there and we were kind of standing on this, like, you can see the abutments of the original bloody bridge, which was, there used to be a beautiful, like, stone curved arch bridge at the entrance to the canal, you know what I mean? And, you know, like, we've obviously that's long since gone, and, like, you know, like, there's lots of changes in that area, because originally you had, like, a staircase lock. So you would have left the Irwell, you would have got up a staircase lock, then you would have gone underneath, you know, like this bridge under the railway. But it's all changed, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, we worked out
changed,
that
like,
it's been 15 years since you've been to Salford, hasn't it?
It's been a good while, hasn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been a good while, and it's that's difficult, isn't it, with life and shifts and, like, relocation, isn't it?
Yes,
you know what I mean? You get back
totally.
as much as you can, but it's never that easy to do. But anyone who's not been down there, it's worth going down, but I'd certainly recommend probably doing it in daylight hours, would you?
Totally,
Take someone with you. And I'm not slagging Salford down at all. It's just general common sense, isn't it? Make sure your mobile phone's charged, etc.
Yeah.
Because we got down there, obviously, we kind of had a look. Because from the footbridge at the entrance to the canal, you kind of look in to what, well, I suppose it's now the new Margaret Fletcher Tunnel, isn't it?
Yes.
Named after Margaret Fletcher, who sadly passed away a few years back, and she was the chairman of the Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal Society. So we kind of stood on this footbridge and we're looking down tunnel. Problem is, there's no towpath, so you can't actually walk under it. And again, you know what I mean, obviously then you've got a bit of a diversion. You're like, could do a couple of way markings, you know what I mean? You've got to walk down in a relief road, cross over and come back on yourself, haven't you?
Yes.
And then you end up picking it back up, basically, where the railway bridge crosses the canal. And I suppose that particular area, it wasn't the best, was it?
No,
to be
it
fair.
wasn't.
I don't know your first impressions when you got there.
I was a bit nervous. I was thanking my lucky stars I was with Steve, and I thought if there's two of us, we're all right, really.
Yeah.
So, and it was, you know, daylight and everything, wasn't it, while we were down there? So.
Yeah, again, it was strange for myself, because, like, before it got reopened in 2008, I'd gone down there on multiple occasions, sometimes with John Driver, a good friend, occasionally Paul Simon, Crompton, you know, we would go down there sort of before any of the restoration work took place, because originally it was all filled in, it was, you know, a bit of a mess. So it was strange for myself to come back after an absence, you know what I mean, because the last time I was kind of down there was back in 2008 during the boat rally, which obviously everything were kind of brand new, you know what I mean, and it was great. But coming back today, sadly, and I love Salford, you know, like, wonderful place, but there was that kind of a neglect of it, you know what I mean? Like, you stood just before the new deep lock and you've got the railway bridge, which were kind of like loads of graffiti, which I've got nothing against graffiti, you know what I mean? Not a problem. Yeah. Not a problem at all, but there's a couple of people like hiding in the kind of like the alcoves, weren't there? Yeah. And there was a very strong smell of cannabis, which is not a problem. Again, it's their business, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it did get me thinking, you know what I mean? And that's kind of one of the reasons I'm talking about it on the video. You can imagine, can't you? Say you know, you've decided you want to go up the short length of the Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal in your boat, obviously. Not the easiest journey in some respects, because you've got to leave the Bridgewater Canal. I expect you've got to get permissions off the Ship Canal Company. You'd have to go down Pomona Lock, and then I'm sure you probably need a life jacket, various things for going down the River Irwell, don't you?
Yes.
And then as soon as you kind of turn into the Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal, which is on the left, then I'm sure CRT, who own that section, have got their own regulations as well. You know what I mean? But my point is this: you can imagine you're a boater, you've gone into the new Margaret Fletcher Tunnel. What most people don't realise is you go so far in, and then you've got these huge bloody lock gates of the new deep lock. And off to your right, what you've got to do, you've got to temporarily leave your boat inside the tunnel. And you've got these rather sombre steps. You kind of go up and it turns round. And you get to the very top, and you've got this big metal fence. And you've got this gate which is padlocked, and it's a combination lock. And you can imagine first impressions for people who've never been to the canal before. It's not the best, is it?
Not really, no, it's not unfortunately.
The best. And certainly, like I mentioned earlier, it's not somewhere you'd really want to be at night. You've not really got any lighting.
No.
And I realise, like, CCTV cameras are not the cheapest things, but really, if you don't feel safe, then people are probably not even going to walk up towpath, are they? You know what I mean?
No, they're not. No.
You know, and it was just, you know, so there's all that, and you know, like it really needs like a simplified pack. You know, if say you want to go on Manchester, Bolton and Bury, you need something that simplifies it, not only about the requirements of the Bridgewater, you know what I mean, what you need for the river, the CRT and all that. But it's just, like I said, you know, like, again, boat to come through that gate, shut it, then you get to the new deep lock. And that really did shock me, because I remember it when it was brand new in 2008. And it really was run down, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and it looked really good in 2008, because I remember seeing the Heritage Explorers.
Yeah, we did a video about it, you know what I mean? And I remember thinking, bloody hell, it cost a small fortune, because that was a new deep lock. And don't quote me, but I think it's third deepest lock in country, you know what I mean? And it just had, it looked unloved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like around the sides of that lock, you had like extensive vegetation, which is like it had not been cut down for a while. You had loads of litter. And I realised the only cosmetic things, but then you had like bloody grass growing out of the lock gates, and you're thinking, this hasn't seen boats for a good while, you know what I mean? Like bits of bloody crap inside the chamber as well, and you're thinking, oh, so that was a shock for me. From remembering like that first boat going through back in 2008 to returning and thinking, this looks abysmal, you know what I mean? And then like the pound above, obviously you go through the new deep lock and you've got like basically two new pounds, and it was literally, it was green, wasn't it?
Yes.
It was what should be water was a blanket of weed, and it was literally covering the whole thing. And obviously I know it's a canal, but for people who don't, you could bloody walk in it and then sink, you know what I mean? It's like, certainly a weed problem. And what it suggested to me was that no boats had gone on that section for a rather long time, you know what I mean? Which is sad. So that's kind of first thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So your suggestion with that, because it's two canal companies, one was the Bridgewater and and
which is owned by the Manchester Ship Canal Company, Peel Holdings. So maybe, just to simplify matters, you know what I mean? You just need something, don't you? Something like a pack they can email across. You know what I mean? Because I'm sure you'd have to book your passage anyway, you know what I mean? And then, again, I don't know, because I've never boated it, but I don't know how the back pumping works, because you think now, that short section of canal, you're going up a deep lock, you're going up lock 3, then it suddenly comes to a stop at Oldfield Road, so they've got to back pump the water up. So you've got to flow water into lock. So it just needs something like, I'm not saying an idiot's guide, but it wants something.
A guide, just what to do, really.
Yeah, what to do, and you know, but from that, I must admit, we kind of, because you've got like these like big pounds, aren't you, which are green. So we walked up towpath, and the area to the right, again, it was just like metal fencing, wasn't it, and like a really derelict land, which I realise at some point will be developed, but it just looked, it wasn't the nicest place to be, was it?
No.
You know what I mean? And it's sad, it is sad. So walk up, get to East Audley Lane, and like I said, the towpath comes to an abrupt stop underneath the bridge. And one nice thing there is that you've got an original Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal Company cast iron mooring bollard, which I've always liked, you know what I mean? And you get a good view of the lower lock of lock 3, you know, like nice stuff. But again, like loads of graffiti under the bridge. I'm not trying to put people off, but there was a smell of urine, like people who'd be going under there to have a wee and then carrying on the journeys. Like litter, quite a lot of litter.
Yeah.
It just, not the best advertisement for boaters going up there, you know what I mean? So yet again, you'd have to leave someone like looking after your boat, you'd have to do a diversion to go around to get to, you know, side of lock 3, and that's a different world, isn't it?
Yes,
you know,
it is, yeah.
Lock
totally.
3, I must add as well, like originally there were 17 locks on the Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal, and that's the only original lock that's in operational, it's restored, because the deep lock's a new structure. So that's what's nice about it for me, it's the original stone lock which has survived. But from that point upwards, it's lovely, isn't it? You know what I mean? You've got like flats, like nice apartments, all the grounds are landscaped. I think you've got a popular pub at the side, haven't you?
Pubs and coffee houses. They're all brand new flats by the looks of it, aren't they?
Yeah, it's quite a nice place. It's just a shame that what's happened there can't go on to the next section down towards railway, because that's a mess, isn't it?
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm sure it'll happen at some point. But, so, that's lovely. So you walk up a bit of a well-surfaced towpath, and obviously I've known that canal for a very long time. And originally, you like before they come in at railways, you had lock 4. getting this sheet. Yeah, so what you've got, you won't realise it because that short section's in water, but you're walking up there towards Oldfield Road along towpath, and it kind of narrows a little bit, and you know, like me, I'm one of these, I'll start naturally curious, have a look, and if you stop there and just look, you can actually see where the lock gates would have been originally, because what, and this is why you probably need like an interpretive panel, you know what I mean, just to bring it to life. But it's interesting because that was the original lock 4. And then when they're coming in the railways and all the changes of alignment, yeah, they actually created that, what was lock 4 becomes Salford number 1 tunnel, literally built on top of it, which was mad. And I suppose that's one of the few times when Canal were working that the horses got better deal. Because what you've had in there, you had like little square like holes cut in inside the tunnel, and the men who worked the boats, bearing in mind, you know, these boats didn't have engines, these box boats, you had to shaft it through. So you'd have like this thing, you'd have to put it into a wall and then drag yourself through this short tunnel. You know what I mean? But then years later, tunnels have been removed and you can see where a lock were. So it's come full circle, and it starts off as a canal. Due to railway, you know, it becomes a short tunnel and then it reverts back to the canal. But it's mad, isn't it? You know what I mean? So I won't go on too much about that, but possibly an interpretive panel will bring it to life more.
That would look
you know
really good, yeah, and you get the bit of history there, because
yeah.
it has changed a lot by
it
what
has.
you've said,
Completely different area.
Yeah.
And again, it's only a short distance from that point. The canal comes to an abrupt end, doesn't it?
It does,
in a small turning basin.
Yeah.
And again, the first thing I noticed were like a weed boon across that basin, which you understand because it's trying to stop weed floating down the canal. But the first thing I thought about was, if you had come up this short length of canal in a boat, the idea of that, it's a winding hole, it's a place you can turn a boat around. But because of the weed boon, it would make it extremely difficult. So suddenly you'd be in a position, you get to that point and you'd either have to undo the weed boon, because what I'm trying to say, it doesn't encourage you to come up there in a boat. It's almost like what you don't want is that little short length of canal to become a ornamental duck pond because it's supposed to be a canal.
Yes.
And if we can't encourage people to use that short section, what hope have we got, which I'll talk about a little bit on, about restoring further lengths of the canal going through Salford, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
You know what I mean? The other thing which kind of saddened me as well, because at that point the canal went underneath the railway line by Salford number 2 tunnel, which is still intact. And the problem is, because of like extensive vegetation, unless you're in the north, you wouldn't even know it were there, you know what I mean? So it really needs like a bit of a wicking pie, like chop it all down. And again, maybe, I'm not saying lots of interpretive panels, but you could at least have like a little plaque, Salford number 2 tunnel, and a bit about its history, you know what I mean? Because that was kind of sadly lacking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was sadly lacking. So that's that. I'm on to the next sheet now, dear. I think, yeah. No, that's good, actually. So, to sum up then, what we've done, yeah, we've kind of come from the river Irwell, haven't we?
Yes.
You know, we've come up the canal and we're now at Oldfield Road. And you kind of get a gist of it. Maybe it's not in the best condition, but what it lacks is boat movements. We need to encourage boats to use that short length of canal. Or else it's only going to get worse, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's only going to get worse. It's not going to get any better. And that's the worry. If it got too bad, then no one will be able to use it, you know what I mean? So as I mentioned earlier, some sort of like simplified pack, which, because like you said, you know, you're on the Bridgewater Canal, which is a private canal owned by Peel Holdings, you know, and obviously they've got the permission to go up the Irwell, but then the Manchester Bolton and Bury CRT, so simplified pack it out, wasn't it?
Yes.
Well, it could be emailed out.
Yeah.
And, you know, just so people know what they're doing, because at the moment it's a bit confusing, isn't it?
It is very confusing.
You know, it should be easy, it should be there, you know what I mean? That information should be readily downloadable for anyone who wants it, you know what I mean? Yeah. So you can book your passage and come up. But not only that, like what incentives really? So you're a boater, obviously the canal network is quite extensive. So what incentive is there to come up the Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal really? It's only a short length, it's not the easiest thing to get onto because of Irwell.
Yeah.
So, just, you know, like in terms of incentives, what I were thinking were, yeah, like I know boaters like plaques. So just say a boater had gone into lock 3 and they had the picture to there, yeah, and sent it in, then they should get a plaque. Yeah, a plaque and maybe a certificate that proves they've been there. It's only a small incentive, and I'm not saying it's going to be like a grand plaque, but it needs something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Boaters like plaques, that would encourage them to go up. You know, that's one of the things. The other thing is assisted passage. Volunteers at Wigan do a sterling job helping boats come through. They work the locks, you know what I mean? It makes it a lot easier, so maybe that's what we need to think about on Manchester Bolton and Bury, assisted lock passage, which I think could go down rather well, wouldn't it?
I think so, yeah, people...
Go down rather well.
I mean, it's always nice to have somebody to help you, but it just makes life that little bit easier, doesn't it?
It does, most definitely, and I've already mentioned that really, you kind of need, I'm not saying like thingy, but maybe once a month, go down there, pick the litter up, keep on top of vegetation at the side of the deep lock into it.
Yes.
Cut back the vegetation at Salford new number 2 tunnel. Little things, but in terms of, yeah, at the moment it doesn't look loved, and like interesting things that are obscure because of vegetation. So maybe regular wicking parties. Other idea I had, the Inland Waterways Association, they've got something what they call the Silver Propel Challenge, and what that is to encourage boaters to go to like, not the farthest parts of the system, but like difficult to get to waterways. And if they go there, they get points, and you know, like I think eventually get a plaque or whatever. But
what do points make?
Prizes.
That's what popped up.
But the point is this: like if you're trying to encourage people to use the canal, then there's got to be. I'm not saying like thingy, but there's got to be something out there to encourage them to come.
Yes, definitely. Yeah,
so
definitely.
maybe, you know, like if it's not on that Silver Propeller Challenge, it needs to be. So that's my point, is it needs to be done, you know what I mean? Get it on there, get people using it. Maybe have an annual boat rally, you know, once a year, get some small boats on there, maybe paddle boards or whatever, but encourage a cruising club. I know in the past, where's the cruising club came up there and had a bit of a rally. Well, we need something like that again. We need boat movements, and we've got to think how we're going to do it. But it's a shame, isn't it? It's only a short length, but that's Manchester Bolton and Bury Canal, which is open. But I'm not saying due to neglect, but in some ways it is. You know, it's not in the best condition. So, being realistic, we've got to sort that out. You know, if we can't look after that, they ain't going to dig out any other lengths of canal.
No,
it's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? So there's some ideas, isn't there? Anything else you want to add, Al?
Well, I'm not the expert, to be fair, but I totally get what you're saying, and I think, you know, they're very good ideas, you know, and something to look at, really, to help the area and bring it back up, the canal back up to its original standard.
Most definitely. So I've just kind of glanced, and I can't believe we've been talking for almost 28 minutes. That's probably like long enough, and I'm sure you're probably thinking, does this guy never shut up? You know what I mean? But hopefully you found it a little bit interesting, yeah? What we're going to do on the next one is we're going to talk about the section from Oldfield Road up to Windsor Bridge, because there's a few things going on with that section that really do need to be kind of like talked about, discussed. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you're watching it, like, we've got some other videos on YouTube, haven't we?
Yeah.
Like when we've done like bits of walks and all that. So please watch them as well. Tell your friends, and if you like it, give us the big thumbs up.
And the other thing I've thought of, if you've got any ideas that will help improve, or you've noticed anything on the Manchester Bolton Bury Canal, maybe the Salford section to start off with, but any other parts of the canal as well. I'm sure you'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, leave your comments. Obviously what I've said is my own personal viewpoint, you know what I mean, and not everyone might agree with it, but it's an honest appraisal of what we found when we went back in August. And like you said, I love Salford, I love it to bits, I love the Manchester Bolton Bury Canal. It was just a bit of a culture shock for me, because I remember it back in 2008, it was mint, it was new, and to find it in that condition, I was sad, wasn't I?
Yeah,
you know, I was kind of gutted, to be honest, because I remember thinking, oh, but all we can do is move forward, you know what I mean, move forward, and hopefully it'll all come good, won't it?
Yeah, well, you know Salford very well because you studied there as well, didn't you?
Yeah, no, definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I've had a guided tour of Salford, which is really good.
Yeah.
So
I think out of that, we've probably talked enough, and like I said, I just want to say a big thank you for watching it. Hopefully you found it a bit interesting. If you didn't, sorry about that, but you know, we're still finding our feet, and I'm sure it'll get better as we go along. So what we'll do, we'll get Anne to switch green sleeves on again.
It's coming on now.
You know, and we'll kind of, this is kind of our theme tune, you know what I mean, for Stephen's Canal World. You know, it's just kind of
nice and relaxing. And you can see yourself going along the waterway to this, can't you?
Yeah. Hopefully I've not put you to sleep too much, you know what I mean. I do realise I've got a bit of like an accent, and I'm from Bolton, you know what I mean. So
It goes well with the Manchester Bolton Bury.
Oh, it does. It does. Well, like you say, a big thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
See you later.
Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye.